Welcome to The Explainer. Today, I'm putting on my evolutionary psychologist hat, and we're going to look at the modern workplace through a completely different, honestly kind of wild lens. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're sitting in a sprawling, open-plan office, or maybe you're just staring at this massive company org chart, and you feel this deep, almost instinctual sense of exhaustion. Well, as an evolutionary psychologist would tell you, that right there, that's an environmental mismatch. We're going to explore why the daily grind feels the way it does. And we aren't going to look at the latest management trends. No, we're looking deep into our evolutionary past.
So why exactly does your modern office operate so much like an ancient primate troop? To understand why corporate hierarchies, endless meetings, and office politics feel so universally draining, we really have to look at the biological limits that are literally hardwired into our primate brains. We love to think of ourselves as hyper-modern, totally detached from the hunter-gatherers of the Pleistocene era. But biologically speaking, we are walking into our glass and steel high-rises carrying the exact same cognitive machinery as our ancient ancestors. We are essentially primates in cubicles.
And it all starts with this one incredibly stubborn number, 150. This represents our biological baseline, and it's a number that pops up over and over again throughout human history. We see it in the estimated size of ancient hunter-gatherer bands. We see it in the basic unit size of professional armies going all the way back to the Roman Empire. It's the splitting point of historical farming settlements, and absolutely crucial for us today, it's the size of successful, highly functioning corporate departments.
Which brings us to a really fascinating concept known as Dunbar's number. Back in the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar found a direct correlation between primate brain size, specifically the volume of the neocortex, and average social group size. By looking at the human neocortex and extrapolating from non-human primates, Dunbar proposed that humans literally only have the processing capacity to comfortably maintain about 150 stable relationships. And by stable, I mean you know exactly who each person is and exactly how they relate to everyone else in the group. Pushing past 150, your brain simply runs out of processing RAM.
Now, what's super interesting is how our social bandwidth is actually distributed within that 150 limit. We don't just give everyone equal attention. We have an inner core of about 5 people, right? And we devote roughly 40% of our available social time just to them. Then there's another 10 people who get about 20% of our time. So a massive 2/3 of your entire social energy goes to just 15 people. Think about your own job for a second. Who occupies that inner core of 5 in your department? And then just how thinly are you spreading the rest of your cognitive energy trying to remember what the other 135 people in your division actually do?
Section 1. The primate in the cubicle.
Let's look at how our ancestors actually kept these small bands from completely falling apart, starting with behaviors you probably witness every single day at the water cooler or, in your company's Slack channels. In primate troops, individuals build trust and social cohesion primarily through physical social grooming, picking bugs out of each other's hair. But as hominin groups grew closer to that 150 limit, physical grooming became a mathematical nightmare. Without language, early humans would have had to spend nearly half their waking hours just physically grooming each other to keep the group cohesive. That leaves zero time for foraging. So language evolved as a brilliantly efficient, cheap form of social grooming. You can chat with 3 people at once while working, keeping the social fabric intact without dropping everything. The really crucial takeaway here is that mundane office gossip isn't just some toxic distraction. It's a literal evolutionary tool. As Yuval Noah Harari notes in Sapiens, the ability to gossip is what allowed us to form larger groups, coordinate, and just keep tabs on each other. When you're quietly venting to a work bestie about a micromanager or whispering about who's getting the next promotion, you aren't just wasting time. You are using the exact same evolutionary mechanisms we developed to build coalitions, track reputations, and navigate ape politics out on the savannah.
Section 3. The Neolithic hierarchy shift. Okay, but wait, if our brains are custom-built for small, cooperative, egalitarian bands of 150 people, how on earth did we end up with insanely complex, stressful corporate structures with thousands of employees and all these rigid layers of management? Well, the big disruption hit roughly 10,000 years ago. See, for 200,000 years, Homo sapiens were mobile foragers. They were fiercely egalitarian. They aggressively rejected anybody trying to act like a boss. But then, the agricultural revolution happened. We settled down. We became Neolithic agrarians. Farming was wildly productive, which allowed populations to absolutely boom far past Dunbar's limit. But it also completely shattered our egalitarian nature.
Anthropologically speaking, farming created a brand new problem: massive physical surpluses. Stored grain, livestock, you name it. This sudden accumulation of wealth totally undermined the old hunter-gatherer ethos where everything was shared immediately. Because these new farming populations were growing so fast, the communities needed totally new social structures just to handle and protect all that surplus stuff. This brought on profound fears about scarcity and raids, which inevitably led to the creation of resource managers, structural inequality, and ultimately dominance hierarchies. Yep, the boss-employee dynamic was born out of agricultural surplus, not human nature.
Section 4. Roles, Rules, and Weak Ties.
As these communities swelled into the thousands, early humans desperately needed coping mechanisms to manage the massive cognitive overload. Our brains simply couldn't handle knowing exactly how thousands of people related to one another. We shifted from small, tight-knit communities where everyone knew each other perfectly, what sociologists call strong ties, to vast, sprawling networks of familiar strangers. We started interacting constantly with people we barely knew, connected only by weak ties. To even function in these massive webs, our daily interactions couldn't rely on deep personal knowledge anymore. To keep these massive, anonymous groups from completely collapsing under social stress, we had to get creative. We developed a few evolutionary hacks. We already talked about gossip acting as a sort of verbal social grooming, but we also invented shared fictions and group ideologies. Think of a modern corporate mission statement, just to boost solidarity among strangers. Most importantly, we started categorizing all these weak ties into a finite set of specific roles, and we used material culture to loudly signal those roles to people we didn't personally know. Think about it this way. To interact smoothly with a familiar stranger, your brain needs a quick situational definition so it can cue the right behavior. Do I defer to this person? Are we equals? The specialized Neolithic buildings, the elaborate burials, and the prestige items of our ancient past serve the exact same psychological function as a modern corner office, an impressive job title, or a corporate ID badge today. They are visual shortcuts. They tell your primate brain exactly where this total stranger sits in the dominance hierarchy, saving you the cognitive energy of having to figure it out yourself.
Section 5. Engineering the Modern Office. Now, surprisingly, some of the most successful companies in the world aren't ignoring these biological limits. They're actually hacking their org charts to mimic those ancient Pleistocene tribal limits. Take W.L. Gore and Associates, the folks who make Gore-Tex. Malcolm Gladwell actually talks about them in The Tipping Point. Through pure trial and error, their leadership realized that whenever a branch surpassed 150 employees, their cooperative social structure just fell apart. People stopped knowing each other. Office politics turned toxic. Their solution? It's brilliant. They literally limit their company buildings to 150 employees and exactly 150 parking spaces. When the lot is full, they don't cram more people in, they just build another building nearby, keeping the tribe perfectly within human cognitive limits. Flight Centre, the massive Australian travel agency, did something incredibly similar. They purposefully restructured their entire global business to match these ancient dynamics. They broke the company down into families at the individual store level, villages, which were clusters of a few stores, and tribes, which were aggregates of those villages. But here was their golden rule. No single tribe is ever allowed to exceed a maximum of 150 people, period. By honoring the actual neocortical processing capacity of their employees, they completely bypass the friction and apathy of massive corporate anonymity. And hey, if you're sitting there thinking, well, technology has evolved us way past all this caveman stuff, think again. Even in the digital age of boundless online networking, your brain still operates optimally, right at that ancient limit. Recent data from a European career-oriented social network called Zing showed that users who had right around 157 contacts reported the absolute highest level of job offer success. It turns out, having thousands of shallow digital connections is fundamentally less effective than maintaining a network that is perfectly scaled to the size of a Neolithic farming village. Your brain just knows what to do with that number. So, what's the grand takeaway from all of this? The next time endless office politics leave you completely drained, or you feel totally disconnected sitting in a massive all-hands meeting of 500 people, cut yourself some slack. Don't blame yourself. You are essentially managing an ancient egalitarian primate brain that has been violently thrust into a massive post-agricultural social structure. You are hardwired for a tribe, but you're working in a megacorporation. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. If your brain was only ever built for a tribe of 150, how many familiar strangers are you currently pretending to know at work? Thank you for exploring this with me on The Explainer.